Oh!
Ho!
Welcome back.
Can we say ho on YouTube? Is that allowed?
Well, I was trying to pronounce it without the H. Just,
Doing Jim Duggan. Oh my god! Oh! It's Sam's on Wrestling.
Exactly. Welcome back to Sam's on Wrestling, and this is our power rankings, where we essentially grade our favourite and just bland, not favourite wrestlers as well. We're very inclusive.
Yeah, we look at everyone we love, hate, don't remember, never watched.
Exactly. And we put them into 10 different categories and rank them on different attributes, and when we decide who is the best. I am Sam, and this is also Sam.
Hi.
And welcome to Sam's on Wrestling.
Jim Duggan. Jim Duggan. How much Jim Duggan did you watch that isn't Jim Duggan turning up for a legend spot?
Damn it. I watched him in the 2008 Royal Rumble.
9.
9, yes. Jesus Christ. Yes, 9. And
this is why I'm winning in Sam versus Sam.
Yeah, well, because you're older and therefore have watched about 1 million years worth of wrestling. You were born in 1910.
The network existed, Sam. The network existed.
Yeah. So, yes, this is Jim Duggan, and even though I don't really know much about him, we're going to be ranking him today as if we are experts on Jim Duggan.
Because it's January, it's Royal Rumble season, and he is obviously the first ever winner.
The OG, the
of
GOAT.
the Royal Rumble. That wasn't on pay-per-view.
Was it on pay-per-view?
TV special.
Wow.
First ever one he won was a TV special. So Bing John Studd actually won the first proper Royal Rumble event. Because there was a Royal Rumble event before.
Oh, it was like a house show?
Yeah. I've completely forgotten who won it. My brain's telling me it's one man gang, and then my brain's going, that's also wrong.
He finished second in this one.
Yeah, he
the
did.
One that Jim
I know,
won.
but my brain's going to go, pop it up here, Sam. Who won the first house showy Royal Rumble? I've forgotten.
So, first of all, we will look at the category of wrestling ability. Sam, what have you gone with for Jim Duggan?
I've gone 4.
Okay.
Jim, in an era where wrestling wasn't a big deal, but the problem is there was people like Steamboat, there was Savage, there were people who were amazing wrestlers. So you can't just go, oh, it was a different era. His wrestling ability, there isn't a lot there. He didn't do a lot of moves. They weren't that interesting. They weren't that amazing. I'll also point out in something in the storytelling, but it kind of filters into here. The booking was weird as well, which actually made his matches really difficult to watch. Mm-hmm. So there was a lot of times you were watching it and the wrestling wasn't very good and it didn't end very well either. And I'll get to that probably more in the storytelling. But yeah, I think his wrestling's not amazing. Never has been.
Yeah, I don't know why, but at the time I went with a 6 because I was using the era's argument. I think that no one could really wrestle, but I think you're right. I'll probably put it down to a 5 on that basis.
When you compare him to someone like Bossman, who's in the same era, great wrestler, Earthquake, great wrestler. There were wrestlers there who, even in era-specific wrestling ability, who would probably be rubbish now, or not as good at the very least, were so much better. And I think Jim goes into that element of entertainer, got the crowd going with his work. So his wrestling, not for me.
No, I can get on board with that. Yeah. Next category is storytelling. Sam, what have you got with storytelling for Jim Duggan?
I've also gone 4 again.
Okay.
I hedged up and down here because I had it higher. And then I went, what happens? Have you ever actually sat down and actually looked at Jim Duggan's kind of pay-per-view record and all this stuff?
I haven't happened to do so. Most
of his matches either we won or they were matches just got thrown out. Double DQs, double countouts. He did not job. He refused to job. Like, you had to be something really high on the totem pole or there had to be some sort of story related to job. So it was either unclean finishes. It was actually really annoying, which meant he never moved up the card. Piper was the same. If you ever watch Piper's matches, Piper just unless it was Hogan, he just never jobbed. Therefore, a lot of the things just didn't work. So then when it comes to the storylines, there aren't that many storylines for Jim Duggan, really, in WWE. I think he had more in WCW more than anything else. So for me, there wasn't enough there for me storyline-wise. And his ring work is always the same as well.
Yeah, again, so I have to admit, with me, I've barely seen him, so I'm really going off of limited knowledge. I went with a 6 because I thought, well, he gets the crowd going, and he's always... But I think that was quite a done thing at that time. Yeah. They didn't have the wrestling, but they would have a better crowd interaction in general.
Which they did. Kayfabe.
Yeah, so I went with okay.
Which he ruined by being in a car with the Iron Sheik.
Jim. Maybe they got along. I went 6, but...
Which I can actually understand. That's actually where my number was before, but I got so frustrated watching these non-finishes that were a part of the storyline. They went, they weren't going anywhere. And then his in-ring storyline wasn't there. So I understand 6. And the crowd work is what makes me hedge. But the crowd work was mainly Ho and USA.
Hey, if it works, keep it simple.
Absolutely.
Next up, we have promo skills, and I've actually changed my number instinctively for this one. But Sam, what have you got?
I've gone for 5 for promo skill. Yeah, I actually didn't mind his promo style. I actually didn't mind it. They just didn't say a lot. It was a lot of shouting, a lot of shout.
But then that's the 80s.
But that is the 80s. But who shouted with meaning, or who shouted with massive personality? You take something like The Ultimate Warrior, it was just nonsense, but you were there watching going, okay. Or Earthquake just shouted at you, and you're like, all right, Earthquake, calm it down. I actually enjoyed his promos from a character standpoint, but he never said anything. You're not remembering anything that he said of any note that was important. It was just a lot of hoes and USAs and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think, again, it's a product of the time. I think...
That's why Jake Roberts got over.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't say he wasn't over. You can't say he wasn't
over like Rover.
Exactly. So
but I tell you what, in America, particularly in the 80s, after they had the Vietnam and Gulf and all that stuff like that, being USA is going to get you over like Hogan. Hogan's whole gimmick is mainly USA based.
Yeah.
And it works. So I think that kind of... I'm put Duggan into it now. I just wouldn't work, I don't think.
Not really. No, I think 5's a fair score.
I think 5 for his talking ability is probably about right.
Yeah. Next up, we have the look. Sam, what have you got? This is quite an interesting one. He's got a weird look, hasn't he?
I went up and down on this, and I'm actually gone for the more negative than the positive, sadly, for Jim. I've gone for 4. And I think mainly for the fact that, first of all, people go, oh, is he muscly or whatever? No, but he looked built. He looked stacked. He looked strong. Right, reminds me a bit like Cesaro. Looks like an 80s Cesaro. Not in the same build, but in terms of like, you don't look ripped and jacked, but you look strong.
Yeah.
And you look like you're more powerful.
He looks like, like a mechanic or something. Like, he's not like ripped or anything, but you wouldn't mess with him, which is a good look.
But the problem I actually have is the 2 looks I can imagine him, though, are in blue shorts. Yeah. And that looks awful.
It looks like he created a wrestler on WWE.
And then even worse, in WCW, he wore like a tracksuit. It was he was a garbage man like type tracksuit, like a jumpsuit, like he was a janitor maybe or something. I don't think Jim has ever looked good, really.
Yeah, I agree. The only reason I've gone with a 6, and what's taken it up is he has a big piece of wood with him, and that is part of the look.
No, it is,
and that is memorable, and that is unique, and he has the USA flag, so you immediately get the character.
I always found that someone said a joke actually that I thought was really funny. Is he might be the only person who has like a thing that then gets turned into like a toy or things. They had like foam wooden planks,
right?
And someone was saying like he might be the only wrestler in history whose merchandise is more expensive than the actual thing itself.
Yeah. Genius.
But how does he get that through security?
That's a lot to bring around.
Is he got to go to a B&Q?
He's got to find a piece of wood, or he takes it in his baggage.
No, it's just the idea of him there going, right, I've landed in my next arena. Where's the Lotus hardware store? Right, I've got to go get some wood. I need wood. Does anyone have any wood? What if you can't find wood? What if you can't find wood in your local area? What do you do?
That's a great question.
Grinder.
So, moving on, after we've composed ourselves, moving on to the entrance, Sam. What have you got for the entrance?
I've given him an 8.
Yeah.
I think, that's actually where I had the 2x4 coming in more than anything. American flag. If you're going to do the gimmick, put it into the entrance. There was a march that everyone did. People would copy it. People would understand it. You could literally play that entrance now and people would react. Having that first thing that people can attach to you is so huge without just saying your name.
CFO.
But to have just that hoe and everyone gets on their feet, even though they know he sucks in the ring.
Like,
even when he was old, and I mean sucks like, when he turned up in the 2009 Royal Rumble to take on Jack Swagger in 2013, where he also did a job, by the way, double count out or double DQ in that either.
Jim.
Put him over, Jim! He's your junior, put him over. But yeah, it's a good entrance.
Yeah, it's a great entrance. And it's the fact it gets a pop, it's memorable.
Your entrance getting a pop, I think, is probably the number one thing that it needs to do.
That's the criteria, isn't it? And yeah, it's memorable, it's fun, it just gets the character across. So 8. So this is a bit of a stab in the dark for me, but we're going with his heel work. Sam, what have you gone with?
Well, I actually don't recall him being a heel in WWE. He was a heel in WCW.
Right.
Sam here, and this might drop down your score if you don't know, but he turned his back on America. and joined Team Canada with Lance Storm. And this is around the 2000 region.
What a duo.
Sam, it's not good. It's bad. It's really bad.
Sounds bad.
And it is bad, and that's the only heel run I can think of. I don't know if we have to start going to like the AWA and things like that. Well, we ain't going to go that far. We're mainstream. We're only doing mainstream. His heel work for me, for Jim, is a 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've gone with a 4 because I had no clue. I've not
sometimes if someone you're not sure of, you go with what you think sometimes their potential is to do a thing. Because it'd be really tough to do Rey Mysterio or Steamboat.
Yeah.
So sometimes we are going. We can't. We have rules sometimes on certain scores. Like in the tag team ones, if someone doesn't have a tag team finisher, so let's say it's it's just their normal move as their finisher, we say they can't go higher than a 5. That's the rules. You can't go higher than 5. But, is it a cool move that one of them has or whatever? And that's the rules. And I think it's the same we do here. If someone hasn't been a heel or a face, we can't go higher than a 5. And you have to go on potential of a heel, but as what he has actually been a heel, and it was bad.
My thought process was, he's from the 80s, and because of territories, I assume that every wrestler from the 80s can do either or. Because they're going to go to different territories and he might need to be a heel somewhere else.
Well, Steamboat proved that.
Yeah, so I just kind of assumed that he just would be able to do it because of the time, but that doesn't sound fun at
it's
all.
really bad.
Yeah, so I can knock it down to a 3.
3 is also probably fair.
And now we move on to the babyface category. Sam, what have you got?
I've gone 7.
Yeah.
Excellent babyface. Are you 7 as well?
I am also a 7.
Yeah, he's really good babyface. The USA thing is always going to be a great babyface run. People want to get behind him. He's just got that thing. Do you know what I think it is? Particularly America in the 80s and early 90s. I thought he was relatable. He wasn't jacked. He wasn't a huge bloke. He was just a man, doing it for America, getting in the ring, fighting his hardest, trying his hardest, throwing terrible punches. And, that I think people can get on board that, and I think his promo style was very face, and it was very happy-go-lucky. And at the end of the day, if you walk around with a 2x4 and you're a good guy, you've done something well.
Yeah, exactly.
You're walking around with a weapon, and you are a face. You've done well.
I think the only thing is it has a ceiling to it because it's not that much complexity, but sometimes that's fine.
But the booking did that, though. The booking gave him a ceiling. You actually can go up the card by losing.
Yeah.
I know 80s was harder because people held titles for like 7,000 days, but you could do it, but people are so scared to lose and drop down the card and lose their money that they would rather literally stay in the exact same place and not lose. Like, if you ever watch a pay-per-view from the 80s, Sam, there's so many screwy finishes or even no finishes at all. It's actually really bad.
It's ridiculous stuff like that guy who came in with a mask in the Rumble and had to eliminate himself because he can't get eliminated.
Mil Mascaras.
You would rather look like an absolute idiot than someone just throw you over some
No
ropes.
one can eliminate me. We don't know who you are, mate.
It's like, it's that stuff. I'm glad that's mainly out of wrestling now.
Yeah, it seems
ridiculous.
to be. It seems to be.
But yeah, 7 for Jim Duggan. Yep. Gimmick / personality, and to me this is kind of the same as his babyface thing because he is only a face. But Sam, what have you gone with?
7.
Yeah, same 7. The reasons.
America, pretty much his face is his gimmick. Well, we kind of did central. We try to split it up as much as we can. Sometimes when we do these analysis of people, but yeah, literally his face stuff is his gimmick. Is his personality. And do you know what? It seems to be his personality in real life. He seems like a really nice man. Obviously went through all those health scares as well, and the wave of sport that happened for him because of his personality and who he is as a person and how kind and generous he seems to be out of wrestling. I hope no one proves me otherwise, but yeah, generally I would actually go on his personality more than his gimmick. But I actually thought the gimmick was just as strong. That's why I went, 7 is really strong for me.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
And now we come to how over / how much of a draw they were. Sam, what have you gone with?
Tough one in the 80s because I would argue that anyone who was in WWE for 6 months was over, pretty much. Yeah, I would say most got over. I've gone for 7.
Okay.
Because I was thinking about it, because back then you could actually talk about draw.
Yeah.
How much of a draw he was, and he was never put in that main event slot. And he was never even when they had heel like Savage as champion or whatever briefly, they never gave him a chance, or Yokozuna or anything like that. That's a bit late, admittedly, but I've never looked at him and went, "You're going to bring in the money." But his pops were just as big as anybody else's.
Yeah, I've gone with an 8.
Yeah, it's also fair.
I think,
fair.
They always pop for him, and I know he didn't get necessarily in the main event, but I think everyone would be excited to see him, and that's not that easy to do in the 80s. No. It's not that easy to win over an 80s crowd, so...
No, that is also true. Particularly when they start getting a bit smarter. He still got pops in the 90s in WCW when they started to understand it. Yeah. There are wrestlers now who would kill to have his pops that he got.
Absolutely.
And to work as little as he worked.
And then to be remembered so long after. I think the fact that he won the first Rumble helps him a lot because he's always talked about. But to get the pops he gets, even now when he comes out, like he does.
Well, he's a part of the Legends thing.
Exactly.
If you can get on that Legends' run of being able to turn up on a Raw 25 type thing or whatever, you've done a great job.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he was so popular and over that they brought him back in the mid 2000s to have a run, not just to turn up. He was there week in, week out. He mainly wrestled on things like Heat, but he had a tag team with Eugene for a while and all that lot. He actually had a run because he was that over. If you can be that over 20 years later and be brought back for like Animal from LOD is another example, even though it didn't work out. If you can be that over that you can turn up completely past your prime, can't work, can barely move, and still get some decent reactions, you're over like Rover.
And now we come to the finisher because you always have to end on a finish. Sam, what have you got for this absolute abomination of a finisher?
So it's like a stance. It's he's almost like doing an American football tackle.
Yeah.
I've gone 4.
Yeah.
Because I looked at it and I went, it was over. People knew it was coming. He got himself to the position. He used to play American football.
The setup's good.
The setup works. What he hits isn't that great. But if you looked at a lot of finishers in the 80s, the leg drops, elbow drops, DDTs. This is just as good as kind of anything else. So I literally went, you know what? I don't need to be harsh here, but I can't rank it highly. I've gone for a 4. In reality, it's probably a 3.
I've gone with a 3.
Which is probably fair.
I feel a bit mean. It's almost because he's a babyface, I feel mean doing it. Yeah. And it's a testament to how good he was as a babyface. Yeah. But it's not good. And I think your point about the 80s is valid.
Yeah.
Because Hogan's is a leg drop. Like, it's all basic stuff. But
Warriors was a splash.
I actually like Warriors because he does the gorilla press.
Yes, I suppose.
So I like that. But yeah, it's not great. I had to YouTube it and I was greatly disappointed. Well, I wasn't expecting a Canadian destroyer or anything, but it's
well,
not
he did.
great.
He was with the Lance Storm group of WCW, so maybe a Jim Duggan Canadian destroyer.
And now it's time to look at where he overall ranks on our leaderboard. I've got a 59. What have you got for himself?
52.
52.
52 is what I've scored. So that gives him an overall score of 111. So should we have a look at where he goes onto our overall men's leaderboard, first of all?
So
quite low.
Yeah, quite low. But I think that's fair. I think the names above him, you go, yeah, they're probably overall better.
Yeah, it pops in above Boogeyman, just below
which I think
Del Rio. But he is a mid-carder, definite bona fide mid-carder. He has won a United States Championship. He's definitely not low. Now remember, there is a difference between a mid-card and a lower carder. It isn't just about titles or weight position. We sometimes, lower card's a bit of an insulting word. We don't really mean that. We just mean someone who's not below the main event status.
Who wouldn't really be Intercontinental Champion or above.
Yeah, sort of thing. Even if they have had a run with the Intercontinental Champion, it can still not be in that mid-card.
So did I in the 2000s.
Yeah, exactly. But however, he is into our mid-card section. And he is slotted into 3rd place on our mid-card section, below Santino and Carlito.
In esteemed company.
Yes, 3rd place. Yeah. So, thank you very much for joining us on Jim Duggan. Oh! Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and we shall see you in our month of Royal Rumbleness on the Power Rankings.
I was looking for a piece of wood there.
I don't actually own wood.
Have any wooden planks in your home?
I have no wooden planks.
How dare you?
Ho!
I am a bit of a plank.